It looks like Shedeur Sanders will be the Browns' starting quarterback in 2026. We have some major NFL news that leads us to think this will be the case, so buckle up.
Shedeur Sanders is the QB1 for the Cleveland Browns, and this is why I hated the whole discourse throughout the season, because they put up new graphics and new splatter charts and all kind of colorful charts that show, oh, look what Shedeur Sanders rate. But they always leave out the fact that this dude got 7 weeks of starters reps, and he went 3-4 in those starts.
It's the first time I got hit since my last game at Colorado. So
he's a 5th-round pick on a rookie deal. You've got nothing to lose. Okay, you don't have to go out and be a big spender in free agency. I mean, Malik Willis is probably the best option. And how good is he really? He was a backup this year. Not a lot of sample size for Malik Willis. We did see 7 starts from Shedeur Sanders, though, and more big plays. He's the best quarterback that we've seen on this roster.
The Cleveland Browns just caught the biggest break of their offseason. And it has nothing to do with what they did. It has everything to do with what Dante Moore just decided not to do. The Oregon quarterback, projected as the number 2 signal caller in the 2026 NFL Draft, just went on SportsCenter and dropped a bomb that's reverberating through every NFL war room from Cleveland to New York. He's staying in college. He's coming back for another year. And with that one decision, Shedeur Sanders' path to becoming the Browns' starting quarterback in 2026 just went from questionable to damn near inevitable. Here's the reality. The 2026 quarterback class is weak. We're not talking about a normal down year. We're talking historically bad. This is the kind of draft where teams reach in desperation and pray it works out. And Dante Moore was supposed to be the safety net, the second best option behind Fernando Mendoza, who's almost certainly headed to Las Vegas with the 1st overall pick. But Moore pulled the plug. He's going back to Eugene. He wants to be a finished product, as he put it on national television. Noble? Sure. Smart for his development? Probably. But catastrophic for quarterback-needy teams? Absolutely.
Of course, I'll be coming back to Oregon for 1 more year.
And just like that, the entire quarterback landscape of this draft crumbled. What's left? Ty Simpson, an Anthony Richardson clone with even less starting experience. Garrett Nussmeier, who got benched. Carson Beck, who's falling so far down draft boards he might land in the 3rd round. Drew Aller, coming off a season-ending ankle injury. These aren't franchise saviors. These are dice rolls. These are guys who, in any other year, would be 2nd or 3rd round developmental projects. The Browns are sitting at pick number 6. They're not getting Mendoza. The Jets might take him. The Raiders definitely will. And even if Cleveland wanted to trade up, the cost would be astronomical. We're talking multiple 1st-rounders for a guy who isn't even a generational talent. So what does that leave Cleveland? Free agency? Let's run through that list real quick. Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Marcus Mariota, Aaron Rodgers. Sound familiar? It should, because the Browns have either had these guys or don't want them. There's no savior coming through free agency. Which brings us back to the kid who started 7 games as QB4 and somehow won the job by default, Shedeur Sanders. Let's get one thing straight. Shedeur Sanders was never supposed to be the guy. Kevin Stefanski didn't draft him. The Browns' entire quarterback plan revolved around Dylan Gabriel being the heir apparent after Joe Flacco. Shedeur was a 5th-round afterthought, QB4 on the depth chart, lucky to get scout team reps, thrown into games without a single first-team practice rep. But here's what happened. He survived. More than that, he showed flashes, real, tangible flashes of being an NFL quarterback.
This year, all right? And you want to talk about not really getting a fair shot, right? Why do we bring that up? Well, check out this photo, all right, of pressure percentage versus pressure to sack ratio. So the bottom line there, all right, your x-axis, you could see pressure percentage. Shedeur's all the way on the right side. He's getting pressure in his face over 40% of the time. Way more than any other quarterback in this league.
Think about that stat for a second. Shedeur faced more pressure than any quarterback in the NFL. His offensive line was a turnstile. His running game disappeared. His wide receivers were inconsistent at best. And yet, he kept plays alive. He showed mobility that people didn't think he had. He made throws that kept the Browns competitive in games they had no business being in. Was it perfect? Hell no. There were ugly moments. There were picks that made you want to pull your hair out. But context matters. This wasn't a guy who had an entire offseason to prepare. This wasn't a quarterback working with an elite supporting cast. This was a fifth-round rookie getting thrown into the fire and somehow not getting incinerated. The Browns went 3-4 in his 7 starts. 5 of those 7 games were competitive. They beat division rivals in back-to-back weeks to close out the season. That's not a fluke. That's a kid figuring it out on the fly. Now here's where it gets interesting, because everything that looks like a disaster for the Browns, the weak draft class, the limited free agency options, the Deshaun Watson contract nightmare, actually creates the perfect scenario for Shedeur to succeed.
Now, he's a 5th-round pick on a rookie deal. You've got nothing to lose. Okay, you don't have to go out and be a big spender in free agency. I mean,
that's the key. Shedeur is cheap. He's on a 5th-round rookie contract, which means the Browns can allocate resources everywhere else. They can fix the offensive line, which desperately needs fixing. They can add weapons at wide receiver. They can bring in a new offensive-minded head coach who actually knows how to unlock a young quarterback's potential. Think about the success stories around the league. Daniel Jones looked competent in New York once he got an offensive line. Sam Darnold is thriving in Seattle with proper coaching. Caleb Williams looks halfway decent in Chicago because Ben Johnson knows how to scheme. It's not rocket science. You need 3 things for a young quarterback to succeed: protection, weapons, and coaching. Cleveland had none of those in 2025. Stefanski's conservative game plans held Shedeur back. The offensive line was historically bad. Jerry Jeudy is not a #1 receiver. Strip all that away, and the kid still showed enough to believe there's something there. Now imagine this: a full offseason, training camp reps with the first team, chemistry with his receivers, an offensive line that actually keeps him upright, a head coach who wants him to succeed instead of one who preferred Dylan Gabriel.
Next year, he'll actually get reps in a full offseason with Cleveland this year. All right? Training camp reps. Throwing to the guys that he'll be out there with on game day. You can't tell me that doesn't matter.
It's a completely different situation. And if it works, if Shedeur develops into even a serviceable starting quarterback, the Browns become a monster. Because remember, they already have a top 5 defense. Jim Schwartz might stick around. The 2025 draft class was excellent. They have young talent across the roster. All they need is competent quarterback play. Not elite, not MVP caliber, just competent. And Shedeur showed in those 7 starts that he can give them that. So if the Browns give Shedeur a real shot in 2026 and it doesn't pan out, they're perfectly positioned to tank for a top pick in 2027 and grab their franchise guy then. It's a win-win. Either Shedeur develops and they stumbled into a steal, or he doesn't and they get Arch Manning. Compare that to reaching for Ty Simpson or Carson Beck at pick 6 in this draft. You'd be using premium draft capital on guys who aren't ready, and you'd be stuck with them for years trying to convince yourself it'll work. Here's what's frustrating. The national media is trashing this situation. They're acting like starting Shedeur is some kind of disaster. They're putting up graphics and charts to show how bad he was, without ever mentioning the context.
Everyone just hates on Shedeur Sanders because it's the cool thing to do. It's like hating on the Browns being the Browns.
That quote nails it. People hate Shedeur because of his last name. They hate him because of the hype. They hate him because it's easy to bash the Browns and bash Deion's kid. But if you actually watch the tape, if you actually look at the situation he was in, the kid showed more than most 5th-round rookies ever show. So, is Shedeur Sanders going to be the Browns' QB1 in 2026? All signs point to yes. Dante Moore staying in school killed any hope of drafting a better option. Free agency is a wasteland, and Cleveland already invested a pick in Shedeur. Why not see if he can develop? This isn't plan A, but it might be the best plan available. Give him the support he never had as a rookie. Surround him with talent. Bring in a coach who can maximize his skill set. And if it works, you've got a cheap starting quarterback for the next 3 years while you build a championship roster. And if it doesn't, you're in prime position to draft Arch Manning in 2027. Either way, Browns fans, this might not be the disaster everyone thinks it is. Shedeur Sanders just got his shot. Now let's see if he can take it.